What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. This is a video I wanted to make about the Burning Crusade and why I think it is one of the best, if not the best, expansion that Blizzard has ever made. I know this is subjective. In my opinion, Burning Crusade is the best expansion that Blizzard has ever made. We're going to be just kind of walking around, flying around the Burning Crusade, and I want to explain to you guys why this is my favorite expansion, why I'm so excited for it to be coming back for a second time at the end of this year. And honestly, I can't be more excited. And I know a lot of you guys in my comments are constantly talking about how excited you are as well. So I figured let's do something like this. Instead of me just talking on camera, explaining to you guys why it's my favorite, we're going to just walk around in game and go check it out for ourselves. But anyways, let's dive in. So we're going to fly on through the dark portal. So basically, the reason why I wanted to make this video is because I feel like everyone, hello, there we go. Everyone feels differently about what is the best expansion Blizzard has ever made, right? For me, it is easily the Burning Crusade, and for quite a bit of reasons. The Burning Crusade, to me, is my favorite because I feel that it is a true extension of Classic. It's an extension of vanilla. I think that it doesn't change the game in like drastic ways, right? It still feels like vanilla WoW with a few awesome additions, right? You have paladins able to tank, you have boomkins that are able to DPS for real, we have shadow priests becoming a little more viable, we have the addition of arenas. The whole PvP scene changes, like everyone can actually PvP as an endgame form of content now. Like, you could get so much enjoyment out of the Burning Crusade, even if you are someone who doesn't like raiding. You can straight up BG and PvP and do arenas for your entire experience in the Burning Crusade, and there's something to grind for. There is an end game for PvP, and I think that is a major thing for me when TBC rolls around. Aside from the fact that I didn't really enjoy arenas in Wrath when Wrath Classic relaunched. I loved them in TBC. I did 2s every single week on like 4 different characters. But the problem is in Wrath, it got a little bit crazier. Not that it was a little bit harder. I guess it was. But it was a little too complex. Like, the arena system and the PvP in TBC feels more true to like vanilla WoW. It's obviously a little bit more complex because classes become a little more in depth. But it still felt like Classic. It still felt so good. And that is one thing that's a major selling point for me. I was big into PvP back in the day. I haven't really been this time around in Classic. I've been more into the raiding scene, but I'm going to be more into PvP going forward again in TBC because obviously it is one of my favorite things. Second to that is that when we go into TBC, we go through the Dark Portal, right? Which is awesome. We're going to the Blasted Lands, you walk through the portal, and then you come to this place. You come to Hellfire Peninsula, which is just amazing. I think the design of Hellfire Peninsula, like, you really feel like you went through that portal and you're in another land, like you're in another world. The design of Hellfire Peninsula, the red terrain, similar to like Duratar, like, is burned into people's brains from back then. If you played this back in 2007 when it first launched, or even the re-release of Classic, like, this zone is burned into your brain. Like, there is nothing that could get it out. You know, you look up, you see the giant beams of space energy and the other planets and everything. We have a Fell Reaver over here. Like, this zone is like so iconic to so many people who played TBC back in the day, and I think that the zones and the design of these areas really plays a huge role in why people think TBC was so special. It's funny though, because moving up to this, going up to TBC, TBC Classic, I should say, people were talking about Wrath. Basically, TBC was like a Wrath waiting room for a lot of people. And it wasn't for me. I knew TBC was my favorite. I was excited for Wrath, and I really enjoyed it. But for me, TBC is peak Classic WoW. Like, even just hearing the Fell Reaver right there, like, that sends shivers down so many people's spines. And, like, I know it does. But we're going to keep venturing out here. We're going to go, maybe we'll go into Zangar Marsh, because that is probably my favorite zone in the Burning Crusade, between Zangar Marsh and Nagrand. Definitely my favorite zones. I think the first time I saw Zangar Marsh when I was younger, I was like, holy shit, this zone is beautifully designed with the giant mushrooms, the the spore mushroom people, and like I was like, wow, this is really really cool. It was like nothing we've seen before in vanilla, and I was playing vanilla from the beginning, right? Um, it was really really cool. But we have a lot of things that change in TBC, and somehow it still feels like classic. It still feels true to vanilla, right? And I think that that is really important and why a lot of people are looking forward to TBC. I almost wish that we didn't even get an anniversary vanilla and we just went straight into a TBC with promises of a TBC era. And then obviously we know it's moving to Wrath and then promises of a Wrath era. I think if we have the trilogy of vanilla TBC Wrath era servers, and then every 3 years we do a reset where you can keep your characters on the era realms, but you get a nice fresh start from a vanilla. You know it's going to TBC, you know it's going to Wrath. I think that would be peak WoW, classic WoW for a lot of people. And most likely, I feel like that's what Blizzard is kind of doing. They're setting themselves up for kind of like an automated trilogy re-release with era servers while they can work on Classic Plus or something else in the near future. But we're not even going to fly into here. We're gonna walk. We're gonna straight up walk into here because this is how you enter Zangar Marsh for the first time, right? You're not flying. You don't get flying until level 70. So you're on the ground for most of this, and you're kind of just exploring. And the second that I walked in here back in the day, the first time I came through this on my Paladin back in the day, I was like, holy shit, look at this zone, man. Look at the design. It is beautiful with the little lampposts on the bridge here. I really, really think they knocked it out of the park with the zone design in TBC. Not to take anything away from further expansions, but I'm talking in terms of it feeling like classic. Like this feels like it belongs in classic, in my opinion, right? We have like the tree guardians here. We have the elves, basically a whole like druid feeling town. It feels really good. And I would say that aside from Zangar Marsh, Nagrand is my other favorite zone in the Burning Crusade. And then going forward, maybe into Wrath, I think obviously Grizzly Hills and it is just one of the best zones, music, everything that they've ever designed in Classic. But yeah, so Zangar Marsh, we're going to just walk through this a little bit and keep talking about what I want to talk about. So all the new things coming in the Burning Crusade. Let's start with we're getting Drain Eyes and we're getting Blood Elves, right? The Horde gets Blood Elves. The Alliance gets Drain Eyes. The Alliance gets access to Shaman on, through Drain Eye, and the Horde gets access to Paladins through Blood Elves. There's been the misconception or the myth that everyone has felt like in the Burning Crusade when you play a Blood Elf Paladin compared to an Alliance Paladin, human or dwarf or Draenei, for some reason Blood Elf Paladins just hit harder. Their white hits hit harder. I'm sure you've heard this before, but it's absolutely not true. It just feels that way. But yeah, so we get Paladins on the Horde, we get Shamans on the Alliance, we get Space Goats, and we get Blood Elves, which are pretty awesome. We get flying mounts at 70. You're going to get your regular speed flying mount that feels horrible. And then if you farm up enough gold and you can afford your epic flying, it feels incredible, right? There is tons of awesome lore in the Burning Crusade, which I think is why it also stands out quite a bit. You have the entire Burning Legion with Illidan. You have the Naru, the Shattered World, that whole thing. There's a lot of cool story, and it really does feel like it fits in the classic world. It fits in the vanilla universe, which I think is awesome. And then obviously, like what I just said, we're going up to level 70. So you got to think back in the day when you were capped at level 60, you're now able to expand and go all the way up to level 70 in this new world. And it feels crazy, right? We have like game-changing adjustments to talents, spells, all that stuff. Like Paladins become the best tanks, whereas it's a meme in vanilla. It's a meme on Anniversary right now. Like, can Paladins tank dungeons a little bit here and there? Yeah, of course. But they're not true tanks. Like in the Burning Crusade, Paladins become the tank. They are the go-to tank. They are out of control, broken. Druids become so insanely overpowered. They become a lot of fun to play. Actually, Druid becomes one of my favorite classes in the Burning Crusade. The dungeon scene, right? Like we have all the dungeons in Hellfire. We have the dungeons over in the dungeons that I actually can't stand, and this might be controversial, are the dungeons in Terakar Forest, the Archidune dungeons, however you pronounce that, like Manitombs, Shadow Labs. Those are the only dungeons I actually can't stand in the Burning Crusade. Like when I have to do those, big yikes, I don't really enjoy them, but I love Blood Furnace, like Heroic Blood Furnace. I mean, that is harder than anything you'll ever do in vanilla. Most people could say, especially back in the day. I mean, when we saw the re-release, Heroics definitely felt a little bit easier, right? But back in the day, doing these heroics was a massive, massive grind. It took a lot of coordination. You had to, CC, you had to sheep mobs, you had to make pulls really, really smart. Otherwise, it was like impossible to do, right? But yeah, more about the classes. Like classes like Shadow Priests and Druids and Shamans, that hybrid tax that everyone talks about in vanilla or whatever is kind of reduced by quite a lot. Hybrids can now perform really well in PvE and PvP environments, right? Shadow Priests become really viable. Boomkins, Enhancement Shamans, like it becomes a thing. Elemental Shamans. So it's really, really nice to see that all the classes kind of get a bit more fleshed out, and we can actually do pretty much whatever we want. If you're someone who really loves playing Shadow Priest or really loves playing Boomkins in the Burning Crusade, you actually can do that. So it's nice to see that. We have the addition of dual talents in Anniversary, right? This wasn't a thing in TBC Classic or original TBC. So we're going into this launch of TBC with dual talents. I think it's going to make TBC that much better. I think it's going to make it so much more fun. If you're someone who is raid logging and then doing arena outside of raid night, you now don't have to respec. You could have your two separate specs by the click of a button. And I think that that's going to make the experience even more fun. Like, I think it's going to make it feel more streamlined, more accessible to everyone. It's going to be really nice going through TBC with dual talents, right? So the raid composition changes in TBC as well. That's another thing we should talk about. We're going from 40-man raids, like Molten Core, Blackwing Lair, Nax, AQ. We're going down to the bigger raid size is 25, and then the smaller raid size in TBC is 10, right? You're going to do your 10-man Karazhan, and then you're going to have your 25-man, Magtheridon's Lair, Gruul's Lair, Tempest Keep. What's the Serpent Shrine Cavern? Yes, that's the one that nobody likes. Black Temple, Hyjal, another one nobody likes, but for some reason I enjoyed Hyjal. Let's move to another zone. Well, let's move to let's go down into Grand. We'll fly over into Grand. But yeah, that's really good stuff. I feel like the raid change with the sizing is so awesome moving into TBC. Like doing 10-man Kara runs just feels right. It feels a little bit more casual, but the raid is still a bit challenging. Like, Shade, fighting Shade with those flame wreaths. I know a lot of people struggle with that. It's a lot of fun. I think going to the 10-man raid size is really cool. It feels more accessible to everyone. And then the 25-man, bigger raid size is really nice as well. Another thing that changes in TBC is our reputations, right? Our factions. Like all of these factions at these different hubs actually matter because you have to grind this reputation to get the keys to do these heroics, to get enchanting, recipes, gear, all that kind of stuff. This mount that I'm flying on right now, the Cenarian War Hippogriff, I got this back in Burning Crusade Classic when it relaunched. I'm on Cataclysm right now flying around, just so you guys know. But yeah, I farmed this back in TBC Classic because I wanted it so bad. And you can farm that with the Zangar Marsh rep. So yeah, your reputations matter in TBC. Like you want to actually farm these reps in TBC because it allows you access to those heroic dungeons. You have to, and for anyone who doesn't remember, you farm the rep to Revered, and then you purchase the key, which allows you to do the heroic version of all those dungeons in that area. I think later on in TBC Classic, as the phases progressed, they dropped it down to Honored, so it was easier for your alts, which I think that's a great change too, and they'll probably do that again this time around. I don't think they should get rid of the attunement completely, but dropping it down to Honored from Revered, I think is a really, it's a really solid way of, making you still have content to do, but, you can do it a little bit faster. Getting Revered on multiple characters definitely is one hell of a grind. So getting to Honored, the second time around will feel, not too bad. And then obviously you go to Shatrath and you have to pick between the Aldor or the Scryer, right? That's another big faction thing that goes on in TBC that makes a difference with what you choose. You have access to different enchants, different gear, stuff like that. We talked a little bit about Arena and PvP, but I didn't mention that in TBC is when Resilience was added to gear, but it's not the Resilience that we all dread from later versions of WoW. Like, it still felt good. It still felt like you can be bursty in PvP. My favorite PvP class in the Burning Crusade for Arena is Warlock. I absolutely love playing Affliction Warlock. Back in TBC Classic this last time around, I was like 1v2ing, 1v3ing on my Warlock in Arena, and it felt so incredibly good. Like, I know Warlocks are broken in TBC Arena, but it felt really, really good. And then we have profession changes, right? We get jewel crafting in TBC, so a new profession to grind. If you make a jewel crafting alt, or if you want it on your main, that's a new thing that we get. We have jewel crafting. And professions become pretty important, right? Like, your tailors are going to be making your Spellfire and your Frostweave sets. Your leather workers are going to be cranking your drums out for more DPS in your raids. And blacksmithing, you know, the infamous Storm Herald, the two-handed mace, right? Every enhancement shaman basically goes blacksmithing. I think it the one-handers is like Dragon Maw or Dragon Strike, something like that. I forget what the exact name is, but yeah, it's like, and even for warriors, DPSing warriors, you're going to go blacksmithing because those weapons are so iconic and so strong. Nothing beats it. Like, you have to go blacksmithing, right? There are multiple mounts that we can get as well in TBC. You can, like, if you're someone who likes collecting and things like that, we can be farming some mounts. You have the Proto Drakes, you have the Talbuck mounts, you have the Nether Rays. There's a lot of different things to farm in here, and then obviously the Arena Gladiator mounts. So it adds a bit of collection to the game as well, like in a more focused way outside of how it was in vanilla, where you didn't really know what you were supposed to collect. But if you're a mount collector in TBC, you know all the mounts that you want to collect. But let's talk a little bit about the leveling experience, right? Because that's what there's a lot of people I get in my comments that this is going to be their first time jumping into TBC. They missed TBC Classic. They didn't play it back in the day. So this is going to be their first time jumping into it. And I got to say, you are in for a treat when it comes to the leveling experience. Like, the leveling experience for TBC is like light years ahead of how it feels in vanilla, right? In vanilla, when you first start out, your first like 20 to 30 levels, it's very, very streamlined. You know, you're going from hub to hub, picking up a ton of quests, going out, completing those quests, and then coming back and handing those quests in. In TBC, that is how the entire thing goes. Because if you know, past level 30 in vanilla, you're like traveling all over the world to do one quest here, 2 or 3 quests here, one quest here, 2 or 3 quests here. In TBC, you kind of move, you know, from hub to hub. Every zone has a few quest hubs in it. And in that quest hub, there's like 20 to 50 quests. You do all those quests, you move, you know, those quests progress you in that zone's story to the next hub, where you would then pick up those quests and start leveling there. And it's just a more streamlined experience. It doesn't feel as I mean, it definitely is a grind leveling to 70, but it doesn't feel as spaced out as it does in vanilla past level 30. You know what I'm trying to say? Now, keep in mind that usually the meta is what most people do when like something like this comes out, like TBC is going to come out. People are going to just dungeon grind the entire way to 70 because, yes, it is the fastest way to do it. Myself personally, I don't really enjoy that way of leveling. I'll probably do it to have my first 70 up pretty quickly, but I enjoy the questing in TBC. I've done it a million times, and I'll continue to keep doing it. I think it is one of the best questing experiences in Classic WoW, aside from, for some reason, I have a massive attachment to the Howling Fjord in Wrath of the Lich King. I've got the achievement now on every character, touring the fjord or whatever it's called. I really love like 100%ing that zone. But I do love the questing in TBC, and I will 100% be leveling multiple characters through just questing without dungeon grinding, right? So in TBC, we also see the addition of some daily quests, right? They're introduced in the later patches in TBC. And if you can think back to, let me show you on the map. Can we see it on here? Yes. If we go over to Terakar Forest, you guys probably remember down here, the Skedis daily quest where you're flying and you're throwing the bombs down. So that was like really first introduced in TBC. We didn't have like daily quest hubs like this in vanilla, right? And then we get the other questing, the daily quests up here, Ogrilla in Blade's Edge, right? These are the ogre dailies that you go and do. So this was the first time this was kind of added to the game, and it gave you something to kind of log in and do every day. It wasn't extreme to the point where you felt like, oh my God, like if I don't do this, I'm going to be so behind, or like in later versions of WoW, right? It was just a nice addition of something to do every day if you wanted to have a reason to log in and play your character. And, you know, it was nice. I think I'm not a big fan of daily quests, but the way that it was done in the Burning Crusade, in my opinion, was fantastic. It wasn't overwhelming. It didn't feel like a slog to do. It felt good. You know what I mean? It felt like a good thing to do when you logged on. If you really wanted to log on that character, you had nothing to do. You were capped on arenas. You weren't grinding any more raiding. You were raid logging. You were locked to every single raid. You still had your dailies to log in and do, right? And then here in the Grand, right, we have the PvP stuff, the open world PvP stuff, these halal battles. Then over in Terrakar, we have the PvP towers down here. Then over in Hellfire, we have the PvP towers. They're not open, obviously, right now because we're in Cataclysm, but you would see them on the map if we were in the Burning Crusade. These are all events that happen every day that people can do the daily quest, get a ton of honor. They weren't really PvP battles this time around. I mean, I was on Faralina and Benediction, so it was like almost 100% Alliance or 100% Horde. I'm not sure how these are going to go down on Night Slayer here and Anniversary. It may be very different, right? We're kind of a balanced server with Horde and Alliance, so I'm not sure how these are going to go. They're going to be a little bit harder to do, right? But either way, lots of fun stuff coming and fun things to do in TBC. And then we have attunements in the Burning Crusade, right? We have attunements to the heroics. We have the Karazhan attunement. You need to get attuned to that raid. You need to get attuned to Serpent Shrine Cavern, Tempest Keep, Black Temple. They kept it feeling like classic, right? You know, TBC is attunement heavy, if I gotta go, say it. Like, TBC is heavy on attunements, which I think really plays into that classic vibe. It plays into why TBC feels so classic still. It still feels like vanilla. I often call it an extension of vanilla. It doesn't feel like a completely different game is what I'm getting at. It still feels like it's vanilla and it feels good. It feels like doing these attunements and all this stuff really matters. Like, you have to farm this stuff just as how you had to do it in vanilla, right? Doing your Molten Core attunement. Yeah, you were going into Blackrock Deeps and Blackrock Depths and just picking up the core. Or yeah, for Blackwing Lair, you were just killing the Quartermaster, grabbing the note, and then doing a quick Ubers. But attunements were part of the game, right? Think about the Onyxia attunement. That's a massive attunement, especially over on Horde side. It feels terrible. That's the first time I ever did it was in Anniversary on Horde side. I've done it a million times on Alliance. That is infinitely easier on Alliance, in my opinion. But yeah, keeping attunements in the game gives you reasons to play the game. I think what happens as we get further and further into WoW, and I really hope that Blizzard's vision for Classic Plus sticks and stays true to like Vanilla and TBC, give people a reason to be in the game without it being for raiding or for whatever. Like, we need to have things to do in the game that aren't something that you're like, okay, I'm logging on for an hour or two and then I'm logging off, my raid's done, whatever. That's it. I'm completely done. Like, we need things to do in the game, especially on alts, which is why I think it's really important that they don't get rid of attunements for heroics and things on alts. Maybe make it just easier, more streamlined, right? Maybe you do like 1 or 2 quests or something, and then you can go purchase the key. Maybe they just drop the reputation down to honored from revered, like they said, like they did in the previous version, right, in TBC Classic. I think that worked perfectly. It made it a little bit easier. You basically have honored if you quested through these hubs, while leveling up regardless. You're pretty much at honored, right? But yeah, now we're flying over Shatrath. I think Shatrath is an iconic city as well. Like, everyone loves Shatrath. You go down into the lower city here. It just brings back good memories for anyone who loved TBC back in the day. And it's going to be really exciting to see this place crawling with people again. Everyone standing outside the arena PvP, the queue spot. The blacksmith over here. You have people crafting Storm Herald. It just feels good, man. It's a good vibe. The expansion has a really, really good vibe to it, and I think that's what I'm most looking forward to. Like, the vibe of TBC brings me back to being young, right? I'm 33 years old now. The vibe of TBC brings me back to being young again, right? Like, all the music that was out at that time, 2007 to 2008. It was a good time. And I'm excited. I'm excited to go back. And there's a lot of cool stuff coming, right? We have professions change drastically. Like I said, you're going to have all your alchemists out here pumping, making tons of gold. I know that's something that everyone does in TBC. I'm just looking forward to it. And I plan on playing a few different characters. Because to me, this is peak classic WoW. It doesn't get any better than TBC. The only thing that could be good to me outside of this is Wrath. I love Wrath as well. Doesn't give me the same vibes as TBC, but it's a solid expansion, and it feels a little faster, which is why I guess it feels a little less classic to me. But it's still, I would still consider Wrath classic and part of that original trilogy. Definitely an amazing expansion, but the Burning Crusade does something for me that I think it does for a lot of other people as well, and I can see that in my comments on all my videos. Like, everyone is so incredibly excited for the Burning Crusade, and I am as well. And I hope that it goes well. I hope the launch is going to be massive. We know that, right? The launch is going to be enormous, and I hope a lot of people stick around. I hope people stick around and play through the entire thing. I do know that once you get to like Sunwell, a lot of people don't really do Sunwell. Like, most people kind of quit before Sunwell. I don't expect it to be absolutely booming by the time Sunwell comes out, but I think for the most part, it's going to be a pretty popular expansion, especially if we know we're getting era servers at the end of it. If they come out and say that right off the rip, I think that's going to nail it for everyone, right? I think that's going to be awesome. I'm going to level characters that I specifically want to keep in this TBC era for arenas, for raiding Black Temples, stuff like that. All the stuff that we enjoy. And then maybe the option to use that character, do like the clone like we did back in 2019, where we can clone that character, keep it in TBC era, and then, also progress that same character on into Wrath, because we know that that's coming too, right? Like, there's no way that it's not. The only thing that I don't like about TBC, and I will say this, is Warrior is my favorite class. And in TBC, in the beginning especially, Warrior is ass. It is complete ass. I tried playing it last time around. It's not good. But I do love Hunter. Hunter is one of my favorite classes, and it performs really well in TBC. And then I usually just run my Warrior straight up in arenas until like Serpent Shrine Cavern and Tempest Keep come out, and then I can start gearing my Warrior and start pumping with tier 5. That's another thing we didn't talk about. The tier sets are out of control awesome in the Burning Crusade. Like, I think that tier 5 Warlock tier set is still, to this day, the best tier set they've ever designed in any version of WoW, even all the way up to Modern. I think it's the Corruptor set. The tier 5 Warlock set with the hood and the chain around the hood and the red orbs everywhere. Like, dude, it is sick, and it's so perfect for Warlock. Like, it really fits into that class fantasy, and I think they did a really good job with all of the tier sets in the Burning Crusade. They all really fit the class fantasy really well. And even like something like this set that I'm wearing with the polearm from Ramparts, I put this transmog on just because I love it. I didn't put this on just for this video. This is how I've been leveling my Warrior in Cataclysm to prepare for Mist of Pandaria, which I'm going to play for a bit. I just love this weapon. I love everything about it. It's so iconic, and it reminds you of the first time that you stepped foot into Hellfire Peninsula, the first time you went through that dark portal. It's just good memories all around. And yeah, I just wanted to make this video and kind of walk around and talk about it. If you guys like this style of video, let me know. I'll do more stuff like this for TBC. Maybe we'll go more in depth. We'll go into specific areas and kind of talk about those areas and what you can do there and stuff like that. It's a very different video than I normally do, but I just wanted to have a kind of a talk about why I'm excited for TBC, why I think a lot of you are excited for TBC, and I want to hear what you have to say down in the comments below. Again, let me know if you like this style of video. If you do, I will do more of it. And let me know why you're excited for TBC. I want to hear your stories. I think that everyone has some form of attachment to the Burning Crusade, the original, right? And it brings up good memories for me, good time in life in general, like in real life. It was good times. But yeah, anyways, guys, like the video, drop some comments, let me know if you like this type of video. And if you guys want to follow me on Twitch, please, we're trying to grow this year. Our goal is to have 30+ viewers by the end of the year every time we go live on Twitch. Drop me a follow on there. The link is in the description below. And yeah, subscribe to the channel if you want more. I'm going to be pumping TBC content as we get closer. It's going to be nothing but TBC content on this channel. It's going to be out of control. Again, my favorite expansion, so you should expect nothing less. But anyways, guys, thank you all so much for watching and listening in. I'll see you all in the next one.